I don't. We're live
Oh,
now.
wow. Happy New Year and welcome back to the Demand
24.
Butter Podcast. 2025 Season 4, Episode number 1. We're sponsored by Fit Care Physiotherapy and Wellness, where the emphasis is to focus on your fitness so you can avoid the healthcare space. I'm your host, Corona, coming to you from the heart of the concrete jungle in New York City. And joining me, as always, from the beautiful Rocky Mountain town of Erie, Colorado, is the one and only Dr. Bo Bobenko. What's up, man?
What's up? How's New York
Just
on January 1st, 2025?
it's quiet.
You know what I used to like to do? I don't know if you've ever done this, because Times Square like dissipates on
Sure.
New Year's Day. You go over there and you check out the craziness after the aftermath. So I've done that a few times back when I was living in New York. I don't know if you've ever gone over there to Times Square. Someone
Never
asked me
done it.
also if, yeah, well, no, after the, okay, whatever. But yeah, someone asked me if I had ever done the Times Square thing, and I'm like, I'm definitely never.
No.
I went close to the madness
You
once or
gonna wear a
twice,
diaper?
but I was never gonna do that.
Yeah.
No, I change enough diapers of my 2-year-old that I want nothing to do with diapers. But yes, never for me.
I'm just throwing that out there, man. Did you have a nice Christmas?
Christmas was great, man. Spending it with loved ones and friends, and everything's about the toddler right now. So if anyone has a 2-year-old, they know. They know.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Listen, today it's just you and me.
Yes.
It's just us. They're not used to just having us. But let's talk about we're going to talk about what's ahead and the three things that are happening in the industry and stuff that's been going on that we've had other pods on. But we're just going to try to give maybe a little more insight into it, a little more of a heads up of what's going to be coming for them in 2025. Um, everybody's got. We're not going to do. We could sit here and do uh, resolutions and discuss how you're not going to fail. We can discuss a lot of things, but let's discuss what's ahead. So let's first talk about AI, dude. Thoughts on AI?
It's coming, like a lot of these things, right? We need to make sure we are aware of it. I was walking the dog just now. We had been talking about this leading up to this in our pre-recording, and I'm thinking of AI as like a competitor almost to what we do in healthcare and fitness. I think it's coming. I think it's a long ways away, and the best way I can think about it is actually had a buddy come by last night, and he works with Microsoft and all this kind of he talks in zeros and ones, if you know what that is.
Yeah.
Um, so, but yeah, talking to him about AI, the takeaway was we need to use this as a tool. There's definitely ChatGPT, even if we're writing a synthesis for this episode. We haven't done it really, but I think we can take ChatGPT, figure out how to use that tool. Like anything else, these are tools. So you can say, hey, write me, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to gain 10 pounds of muscle. Write me a program. Like you can do that. It won't be as good as David Corona doing it for you. I could almost guarantee it. Um, but it
Yeah,
might be
that's my
okay.
issue. No, but that's really my issue, I think, and I keep saying this over and over and over again. They keep dumbing down the industry. They keep dumbing down what we do, and you know what? A program's a program. If a program is executed inappropriately, you're going to have injury. You're going to have malfunction. You're going to have a lot of issues going forward, and they've just dumbed it down. What we do on a regular basis, if it's done appropriately, is adapting to what our clients are doing and doing what's best for them. Usually, reverse engineering how they live, figure out what they do, figure out what they repeat over and over again, and say, hey, let's work this up. The issue I have with AI isn't the availability of it to help others. People are taking it that AI doesn't know who you are, doesn't know what you repeatedly do, doesn't know your patterns, and that you
But it
create a
is
program.
learning. But I want to point out it
It
is
is.
learning. It's gonna
It
so in
is.
5 years, 10 years, maybe sooner. I don't know, and I'm not enough of a technologist or
Sure.
whatever. But yeah, it's coming.
But if I want to change a movement pattern, you still need to touch. You still need to go through that touch
I don't
pattern.
know,
You
bro.
still
I
need
mean, again, I think it's coming along, and I think at the end of the day, again, we talk about demanding better from the current trainers, physical
Sure,
therapists, all the medical
100%.
professionals. So I think, unfortunately, I think there's going to come a point, and it might come sooner than later, where AI and all the systems that exist are going to be better than the average personal trainer or the average physical therapist. So I think that we need to keep an eye on that. We need to keep raising the bar. We need to keep doing better. We need to tell the consumer here who's listening, this is what you should be looking out for. Again, most
Yeah,
things like a mirror or whatever, it might be good enough, again, depending on what you're looking for, but there's a lot of traps. And it's a kind of constant theme that we seem to bring up of, yeah, it's not perfect yet in terms of what AI provides, just like what F45 provides or what CrossFit provides. So if you can find a way to do that, maybe it's getting 80% of your needs met, and maybe that's good enough. Maybe it's only 50% of your needs and you feel like that's still progress, but we're saying, hey, you could do better. I think that's where we need to come back together of like understanding, calling things out, laying it out like, hey, what does this look like? Can we make this better? So that's my take on AI is I think right now it's definitely in its sort of infancy, maybe in its toddler
sure.
stage, like my child. But again, I think we need to be aware that it's there. Again, I'm looking at it as a competitor. I want to make sure I stay ahead of AI, of are my skills better than AI? And all of that comes with it, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's diagnosing a shoulder injury, whatever that is. So I think it's a fascinating thing. To your point, again, there's a human piece to it that I think we need to always have in the mix. When will AI be
Sure.
able to look at all our data and say, like, hey, David, like I noticed, you sound a little down. Like maybe I can recommend you this and like take this pill and drink more whatever the thing is, and it's fascinating where it's going. We're all along for the ride, and again, it's happening either way. I think we need to figure out, like our next topic, Ozempic, where does it fit in and how do we best talk about these things. But again, it's just another tool that's happening, and but it's happening. It's
No,
definitely coming.
no. There's definitely coming. There's no doubt about it. And the same thing with GLP-1s. If you don't like the GLP-1s, it's still coming. And it's still coming. Just like I don't like AI for certain reasons, I will say the same thing about GLP-1s. You need behavior modification. At some point in time, you need behavior modification. I don't have a problem with someone taking GLP-1s. There are people who need those drugs, and that's not a problem. It's coming. We don't have a choice, and there are people who are choosing that route over doing the work sometimes, or and that's what they want to do. And some people, that is their only option. So it's a really, really listen, man. It's here. And
Yeah.
we talked to Eric Durak, season it was this past season, season 3, episode 14. We talked about these GLP-1s, and he's talking about taking blood in gyms. I mean, and that's the future. And he has a certification for this. And listen, if you're find somebody who is certified, because this isn't like training a normal person and the needs that you may have, even though I think you should be demanding more water anyways. You know what I mean? What do you see? I mean, because listen, even Ozempic is the worst one of the group, anyways, in
Well,
terms of
yeah.
what they talk about. I mean, it's rat. I can't think of this. It'll come to me. Go ahead.
What was your question?
No, it wasn't a question. I was trying to think about the one of the drugs that's the number one. They say is the best one. It's not coming off the top of my head, but it's not. It's something that it's not
Manjaro or
Wegovy.
whatever.
No, 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 no. There's no. It's rat something. No, I can't think of
Okay.
the name of it.
Anyway,
Um,
point being that this whole class of GLP-1 inhibitors, again, for anyone not familiar, talking about these weight loss drugs that basically shut down your appetite. They're appetite suppressants. This is stuff that's been happening for the last 20, 30, even longer years. But they've finally kind of figured out and got the technology pretty good. Again, like the AI we're talking about, we might see it a lot sooner, but they've kind of gotten it down to a very good science, and they're able to distribute this stuff, and we're seeing it in mass. Where
yeah,
the more we learn about it, is half of the population of America going to be on some version of this weight loss drug for maintenance. So something to definitely keep an eye on, something to definitely think about. Again, um, in the physical therapy space, same thing. The biggest side effect here, right, is you're getting weight loss, but that also means muscle loss.
yeah,
So if you're losing
yeah,
strength, you're losing capacity, you're losing the ability to do things. That's really where we have to balance that out. So somebody who's tried all the things, they might not be ready to go back to weightlifting. And again, this is what we're talking about we don't necessarily see it happening yet, But when we talk about what our ideals are for this coming year, what our goals are, what our aspirations, what our resolutions are, all that good stuff. Um, One of mine is definitely strength, building, bringing more muscle to America. Make America strong
Yeah.
again. Dare I say it? Dare I say it? But bringing strength into the mix, where if we could put the benefits of strength training, and that's going to be the next thing, I think, is another pill.
No.
You take one to lose the fat and the weight,
Oh,
and then you take another one to build muscle mass. It's nowhere near ready. It doesn't. I've not heard of any such thing. But if such a pill comes out, that's going to be the next side effect. So you could take one pill to lose the excess overweight, whatever we want to call it, and then you take another pill to mitigate the muscle loss. That would be a very interesting thing. But the answer is we have the answer, but people either don't know how to do the work. I think a lot of people want to do the work. I think a lot of personal trainers don't know how to build people's strength the right way. And again, there's that fear of, my back is going to get hurt if I try to deadlift. But the truth is, if you deadlift correctly, you're going to avoid any back injury. You're going to make yourself more resilient and anti-fragile. So ultimately, I need to step back from my energy here because I just want to yell about how important strength training is. But strength training
look,
is to
you're
me
gonna
the,
have
the,
more to
the
talk
answer.
about that in a minute, brother. You're gonna have more to talk about that in a minute because that's what we want. We're hitting our third point, which is basically what to keep an eye out, out for, this year. Listen, we started with home gym versus going to the gym, and I think going to the gym is back. I think people want to get out of their house. I think people want to exercise. I think people want to exercise with other people. I think that energy has been missing in a lot of ways for a lot of people. And that community. I mean, that's what CrossFit's known for, is the community more than anything else. And I think people have missed that community, doing the Peloton. Listen, the mirrors. If you want to do the mirror, great. Um, you want to do whatever else that's out there, Peloton. Right. Do your thing. If that works for you, works for you. But I think more people really, really enjoy the energy you get from other people. Remember what Tom Shepard said in our last episode, which is, "I'm not friends with Peloton." Yeah, you know what I mean?
And they,
It's
and
that
they
community
tried. They
motivates them.
tried to have like a leaderboard. They try to have it so you can, have your group of whatever 5 or 10 other people in there, and they're like, "Hey, how fast did you? What'd you score on this workout?" Again, that's the model built into CrossFit. Is like we're all doing the same workout. It's 7 minutes of burpees. Sucks. You hear it, you don't want to do it. But but if Corona got 100 reps and I only got 95 reps, like that's the game. That's the connection. It's like, okay, I got you next time. What's the workout? Okay, it's rowing 2,000 meters or whatever. Like I'm gonna do it in whatever 7 minutes flat, and Corona 7 is 5 seconds slower. 7 minutes and 5 seconds. So we can keep doing that, and that's where again my other solution. I'm jumping ahead to our solutions, but that's the objective nature of it. I think that's where a lot of these gyms fail when we look at human psychology, change psychology. What's really motivating people? This concept of like, hey, there's a thing here. We're going to put it in your home. You're going to feel good when you do it. You're going to start seeing some of these benefits that you want to see. But I think there's a very short shelf life. We're seeing the same problems with the F45s, with the a lot of these gyms
They're
where there's no
dying
real.
out.
They're dying out. We're seeing a lot of them closing in a lot of cities. I don't know overall how the stock is doing, how the franchise is doing. I did want to shout out Eric Malzone, the fitness. He's a business fitness podcast. I forget the exact name of it right now, actually, but I think it's the business of fitness. Maybe I don't know. But the point being that I think looking at the big trends, and we had our buddy Kyle on our one of our other episodes here, talking about again micro gyms and where they're going. And again, if you're a consumer out there and you're looking to get into a gym, be aware that it's probably beneficial to. We talked about on the very first episode we ever recorded, Demand Better from Personal Trainers. If there's no assessment when you start, you need some numbers. Just like you go to your medical doctor, and we use these analogies all the time, and you're getting your cholesterol checked, your weight, your all of these markers of your health, your resting heart rate, your blood pressure, all this kind of stuff. If you don't have vital signs that you're looking for from movement in terms of how fast can you run, how quickly can you get up and down off the ground, how good is your joint health, these orthopedic things. If you're not looking at that, again, this is my whole soapbox spiel. If we're not looking at that, then the problem becomes you're limited and you're probably not as likely to stick with it. We talk about how do you fail on resolutions all the time. It's, you want to make smart goals, and then people are choosing people are choosing programs for fitness and they're investing their money and they're motivated, but they're choosing things that are not smart goals. They're not smart programs in the SMART, for anyone not familiar: specific, measurable, attainable, repeatable, and time based. A lot of those are the smart goals. When you're saying, I want to lose 30 pounds, well, okay, how about you want to lose 10 pounds is more realistic, and you lose 1 pound a month, or sorry, 1 pound a week. So over the next 10 weeks, I want to lose 10 pounds. And, these are the ways I'm going to look at that and put a little more specificity in.
But that's not the way this game has been being played at all, with the new trends in terms of the specificity. It's just a one size fits all.
Well, we
And
know
people
we
have to,
know the general population, but again, the folks listening here, that's our goal here, is to be the consumer's guide. So yeah, the way things are looking on the big picture, mass media, whatever you want to say, mainstream media, whatever you want to call it. We know the common things that folks are falling for. Again, if someone sells you something that's too good to be true, unfortunately, a lot of people are still going to fall for that.
true.
But we're trying to make sure we again escalate, elevate, raise the bar on what it is that you're trying. We're trying to encourage folks to do. Look out for some of these scams. Again, if someone's like, hey, if you eat this or you take this supplement or you take this powder, you're going to improve your brain health 22%. Like, okay, what's the science on that? How many studies have been done? We don't expect you guys to become like PhD scholars on this thing, but we just want to make sure that those conversations are continuing to happen. And the more I think they happen, the more we can educate folks. That's the beauty of these podcasts, this format. And again, hopefully folks out there listening are getting benefits from this. That's why we're doing it. That's why we're here on New Year's Day. We got family to be with, we got friends to be with, but we want to make sure we're spreading this message and getting this out there. And we're excited to bring you guys a bunch of awesome guests the rest of this year, 2025. We're really excited for it. So if you guys are getting some benefit out of this, I'm going to say it now. I know Corona always says it at the end, but leave a 5-star review. That really helps us grow. Leave us some feedback. Leave us some comments. We're on YouTube now. We're on my Facebook. We're on my LinkedIn. So leave stuff in the comments if you're watching right now. I know a few folks are watching. Leave some comments. What are you guys excited for in 2025? We'd love to hear. We might be missing things. We're just two people. We have two voices, and so we'd love to hear as many voices in this conversation as possible.
You kind of just wrapped up a whole bunch of stuff there in a kind of couple sentences there. Do you want to close this up, or do you want to talk about spring work with women's health and have that discussion, or do
So
you want
I'll summarize since you're. I'll summarize. So we got our 3 things that we are expecting to see in 2025. Number
Yes.
one, we talked about AI. AI is an emerging trend, and we're expecting to see a lot more of that. All sorts of variations on it. The Mirror, Peloton's doing some version of it. Ladder is an emerging kind of app and things like that. So look out for all that. Online training, AI, all that stuff is happening. So we want to keep an eye on that. That's number one. Number two, we talked about Ozempic, GLP-1s, Manjarda. I actually forget all the names of them.
Buongiorno, go ahead.
You haven't thought of the one that is the most popular.
Zepbound.
Okay, there it is. So that's number two, is that weight loss thing. Again, the majority of folks, the population, right? Only, I believe the last statistic I saw was only 11% of the American population meets the criteria for metabolically healthy, which is the top 5 markers in range, including blood pressure, cholesterol, all these kind of things. So if you're not meeting these 5, if you do meet these 5, you're in the 11% of Americans who do meet that. It's a very small percentage. And I forget the exact number of Americans. Is it 600 million Americans? Do you know the number? The U.S. population? And we're talking about America, but obviously worldwide, there's all sorts of fun things we can be looking at. I know we have some international folks listening as well. Anyway, the point being that metabolic health is at an all-time low, it seems. Every year, over year, the statistics keep coming out. We are getting less healthy as a people, which is wild considering how many resources we have. And so without going into the conspiracy theories and again, the soapbox and the yelling of all that, the fact that metabolically we're all getting a little less healthy, we need to keep an eye on that concept of the weight loss drugs, the GLP-1 inhibitors, and then the main side effect of that being strength and muscle loss. So something to keep an eye on as we are an aging population. So that's the number 2. Number 3 we talked about is these group fitness going back to the gym. How is that those trends going to keep going? So we don't have an exact trend there, but it's keeping an eye on F45s and Yoga 6, and I'm sure there's other numbers that 1, 2, 3. Fun fact. I will use this transition. Did you know that 2025 is a perfect square of the number 45? If you 45 squared is 2025. The last time it happened was 1936. The next time it'll happen is 2116. So keep an eye on that. Anyway, so those are our three trends and our little fun fact there of mathematics. And so our three things that we're moving into, you want to do the three things we're moving into and we're hoping for?
We're just looking for better assessment, number one. I mean, the reality is, listen, if you're going to go out there at this point in time and you're looking for somebody to help you along this road, it's pretty simple. If they don't assess, they shouldn't train you. You should know what's going on before you got to have plans before you build a home, my friends. So that's number one. Number two, more strength training. I mean, Bo went on his rant earlier, but it's pretty much simple. Muscle is the organ of longevity. We keep saying it over and over again. And if you don't have muscle, you don't age well. It's that simple. It's not really that hard. Um, and the last thing is sprint work. Bro, I'll let you because this is one of your pets, women's health. Talk
Yeah,
to them
and
about
again, for I try to always push the concept. I grew up in a house of women. I always put the toilet seat down, ladies. Bottom line is so women's health is something very particular for me. When I have a woman I work with, I always refer them to a women's health specialist, aka a pelvic floor specialist. Something that a lot of women don't even know exists. It's wild to me how few. And to me, it's like saying, "Hey, you have teeth. Have you been to the dentist? Like, what's going on? Have you gotten a cleaning? Like, what's going on?" So women's health, women have all sorts of other things that men do not have. They are not just smaller men. Um, at the same time, it's just understanding these concepts. So something I'm going to shout out Dr. Stacy Sims. She talks about is the fact that especially for women, especially when you're getting into the perimenopause stages of life, but even outside of that, and the same thing, something good for men to understand is if you're not doing sprint work. And what does sprint work mean? We've adopted this term high intensity. So, Corona, what do you think of when you hear high intensity?
Yeah, I think people pushing themselves to a level, not really pushing themselves all the way, but they're supposed to be. The thought process is pushing yourself to the highest level. That's not what you actually see.
Yeah, so even in SoulCycle and Peloton, all these things that we're kind of, name dropping, Tabata type workouts again can be in that domain. We can get into the physiology of that, but the bottom line is most people do not push into that high level of
No.
sprint work, which the physiology and getting geeked out on it is once you go past 10 seconds of high intensity, of true high intensity, of like run as hard as you can or get on this bike and go as hard as you can. Once you kind of go past 10 seconds, the majority of human bodies can no longer be in the sprint zone, in the aerobic zone. No matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult like your level of exertion is, um, past 10 seconds, you're no longer sprinting. So that's a really oversimplified physiology. I'm going to leave it there. But the point being that sprint work is something, if you're not doing, you're leaving money on the table. And sprints, true sprints, any version of that, again, on an assault bike, on a rowing machine, burpees, any kind of version of that, running itself, swimming, if you can't push into that high level, 100% exertion, and it should be in those short, again, time-based domains. Doing 45 minutes of high intensity, you know what I mean, is not a sprint. It just can't be. You go into aerobic very quickly. So anyway, the point being that sprint work for women, especially, that was where we started. For women, especially, if they're just staying in that middle intensity, moderate intensity, all you're doing is abusing your cortisol. You're staying in a stressed out state, which we all live in a pretty stressful world. If you open your phone, you're gonna be stressed out. Like it's hard to avoid stress. Today, I don't know why. I was definitely on Twitter, X, whatever, and there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening today. New Orleans guy ran over 10 people. I saw all this other stuff. There's all sorts of crazy things happening all over the world, depending on what you're willing to expose yourself to of what tragedies and things are happening in the world. So, and then on top of it, you look into your own home and you're like, what's my financial stress? What's my relationship stress? What are my friendship stresses like? And then someone's like, hey, do you want to come over? And anyway, I'm not going to go into that whole ramble, but the point is, if you're already stressed out and then you're trying to get in shape and all you're doing is getting into more stress rather than high stress, recover from that, understanding where this all goes. Um, my long thing here, if you guys stuck with me, is that more sprint work, true sprint work, understanding sprint work. Talk to whoever you're working with, whether it's your trainer, whether it's your coach, whether it's your physical therapist. How do I incorporate more sprint work safely into my world? Where are you coming from? What is your training age? Should you do that once a month? Maybe that's enough for you to do true sprint work. If I'm doing sprint Saturdays, great. I'm going to do that once a week. I know what my capacity is. I know what my body can handle. I know how much I want to push that and how much I want to progress that. So sprints, very important. Definitely want to keep talking about that through the rest of 2025, whether it's on here, my podcast, my social media, all that stuff. So sprint.
Yeah, and sometimes if you're doing sprint Saturdays and you're doing sprint Saturdays at the same intensity for a period of time, you're no longer really sprinting. Um, I think that's a wrap, man. You got anything to add? Are we good?
Now you sound tired as heck. Were you up all
I'm
last night?
good. No, 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 I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm very, very
Usually
good.
you got a little more pep in your step, buddy.
I'm totally, totally good, brother. For happy new year. Um, so so if today's episode lit a fire under you, spread the love, hit the review button, share it with someone who needs the message, and make sure you're subscribed with more game-changing content. But here's the real talk. Knowledge without action is just wishful thinking. Get out there and put these insights into work. We are proudly sponsored by FitCare Physiotherapy and Wellness, where the emphasis is to focus on your fitness so you can avoid the healthcare space. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, keep evolving, and never stop demanding better. Your future self will thank you. Peace.
Peace.